What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. You can always be a part of our show. All you have to do is go to InsideTheGame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. You can also follow us over on YouTube at Inside the Game, hit us up on Twitch at twitch.tv/theofficialitg, and of course, join our growing community over on Discord. Now, what's up on this week's show? Well, here it is. It's the rundown.
Top 3 skills in each skill tree in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
You and I have been about the only ones from the team playing this game because it's still, honestly, it's kind of more of a broken point than break point.
I'm left with my melee weapon even though I just had my gun out, and now I might be getting into a gun battle and I'm fumbling with the controller to try to get the wheel up to pull my weapon out that's not a melee weapon, and then I'm getting shot and killed and I'm trying to stem and then run away. And
The Last of Us is making its rounds around social media all over again because HBO's production has confirmed that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey will both be joining the project.
Well, there it is. That's the rundown. So let's get started. Corey and I hit the apocalypse. Well, Corey, let's see if we can survive this review.
This is strange.
Corey, you and I jumped over on Steam into a post-apocalyptic game called Potentia, and we've been down this road before. Basically what's happened is an explosion kind of goes off in the environment and wipes out almost everybody. You know, typical from a post-apocalyptic point of view, but some people evaporated and then others just didn't, and that's kind of the setup of the game. And a few events happened along the way. But overall, Corey, I gotta be honest, dude, this one was a struggle to play. There's a lot of issues here. The game still, it says work in progress. It's very much a still work in progress title, but it's been difficult to get through. It's not a long game by any means. It's only 8 episodes. I got to 6 and then got a kind of a bug and it just broke the game. And I've had to restart the game 3 times to play it. So it's been a bit of a punishing go. How have you made out?
Well, you know what? Let's kind of start off with how this all started for us. You sent me over the trailer, and we got to look at this.
Yeah.
Potentia. The trailer looked really cool. It kind of had this, Division 2, Last of Us kind of vibes, right? Like you're kind of roaming around the streets. There's, cars and litter scattered everywhere. It's kind of, this bit of a wasteland, and you're kind of moving through. And it looks really good. The trailer made this game look really, really good. There's some combat involved in the trailer, so you kind of get a feel for a little bit of everything. And then you jump into this game, and you start to notice pretty quickly here that little sign in the top left corner of the screen that says work in progress really means this is a work in progress, because holy cow, it was difficult to get into. Let's just say the environment, when you first get into the game, looks really good, actually. I think the overall environment, kind of is what immerses you in this game. But then you start focusing on kind of everything else, and you start realizing kind of where some of the holes are here. Like, we look at some of the character models, especially the main character. It seems very kind of blocky and chunky, and it's just, you're just hoping for a little bit more, because you kind of see how the environment looks, and you kind of hope that, the rest of the graphics follow suit. And, it doesn't really matter how nice the environments look if they're empty, whether it be there's not enough enemies or there's just no items. I mean, you walk into a grocery store and the shelves are all empty other than 2 boxes of pistol ammo and then a grenade on a shelf, farther down in one of the aisles. And it seemed like there was just some balancing issues here with this game. Like, they wanted to put out a game that had, a kind of an interesting story, whether it be, a story that we've kind of seen done before in the past. They did their own spin on it, so you kind of have to appreciate it here. But I had a tough time getting over these voiceovers, man. Like,
oh my goodness, Corey.
There's a bit of a disconnect here as far as translation is concerned, and you can't fault them on that, but it's just, like it was tough because it's the voices and everything just kind of don't match what you're looking at on screen.
Well, I was looking for my wife. I was looking for help, and he brought me here. Maybe you know where they're taking the people they captured.
I have no use for you. I am just a man hiding here.
Oh man, the voice acting was just killer. It was so off-putting in the game. It doesn't match the characters. The voice over itself doesn't line up with the mouth syncing, so there's none of that either to make it even worse on top of that. But the voice actors, I don't think are actual voice actors. I think that's part of the issue, to be honest. You know what I mean? So when you're trying to tell an environmental story game like this, an action adventure with a heavy emphasis on the story, you need to have well voice acted characters, and these characters are just off-putting. Nothing, they're broken. Honestly, the voiceover is kind of broken in parts. It's the one character you run, he's kind of like he helps you along the way, but he's supposed to be witty, and he's not. He's more of a right. So it's just it just doesn't match what they're trying to go for here. The AI itself was just incomprehensible. Like when they walk, they're actually floating across the screen. It's not smooth, it's not fluid. Combat was all over the place. When you're talking about the environments, right, they say search the environment and it'll help you survive. But you search an empty environment is the problem. It's supposed to be set that way to an extent, but there's nothing really to explore. You find ammo, health packs, and grenades. That is really about it. What else am I going to look for? Nothing. I shoot somebody and then I'll pick up his ammo. That's kind of what I did, right? Stealth doesn't really work. To me, it seems like the developers were, you know what? I like The Last of Us. I like The Division. I like Assassin's Creed. I like Splinter Cell because there's this nice scene with the whole goggles and go zing, like you get the whole sound effect and everything. Dude, it was just, when they tried to mash it all together and it just didn't work. They really needed to go, you know what? We want to make this kind of game and let's focus on that instead of pulling from everywhere over here and there. And then it's just, oh, dude, it ended my game and I had a hard time. I'm obviously, struggling not to be too bashing on the game, but it's just, there's so many issues with this game. It's not ready. No. Completely as simple as that. It is not ready.
Yeah, I'm just going to add in real quick. I got to give them credit that you played on mouse and keyboard. I found out there's also controller support, so I hopped in on and started playing on controller. There's definitely some issues with the control layouts as far as, just how you operate your item wheel and things like that. So it was nice to be able to play a game like this, especially a third person, shooter or adventure shooter that in this perspective with a controller, because again, I'm terrible with mouse and keyboard. So it was nice, but the way your character moves around the environment, it feels like you have a box around you. You have a box around you. The enemies have a box around them. Everything you interact with has a box around it. And it's just, you feel that when you're playing this game. So you feel like a controller should make the movements a little more fluid and, should be a little bit easier to pick up and switch your shoulder camera angles and things like that. But it really didn't make my experience any more seamless. And I found, honestly, once you get into the combat and the gunplay, the best part was doing a stealth takedown, because it's a little kind of played out cutscene where you whip out your melee weapon and you take their legs out and, bash them over the head. And they did actually, that was done really well. Like it was cool to kind of see, because it's like, partially slow motion. And so it was kind of nice to see that added in. But then as soon as that's done, I'm left with my melee weapon, even though I just had my gun out, and now I might be getting into a gun battle and I'm fumbling with the controller to try to get the wheel up to pull my weapon out that's not a melee weapon, and then I'm getting shot and killed, and I'm trying to stem and then run away, and it's it turned into a mess real quick. And when things aren't happening fluidly, whether it be with the controls or just the way you move around the environment, it makes it a lot more difficult to progress through, even though, like you said, it's not an overly long story here, but there's a lot of things that are going to want to kind of try to hold you back as you make your way through.
No, absolutely. The game's probably around 3 hours long, to be honest. If you can get to episode 8, I got halted at episode 6. I cleared out the area, did everything I was supposed to, and then that was it. I ran into a stair issue. I went down the stairs, and it would not let me back up the stairs. So I couldn't get back out to the front of the house and into this little cul-de-sac area. you know, it just restarting my game 3 times is, you know, it happens. There obviously things happen, but in this instance, dude, it was just, everything was just breaking down as I went further and further along, and it was tough. You get into certain enemies where you fight and, you know, one shot, perfect, they go down. A simple headshot works. This dude shows up with a helmet. I gotta unload my shotgun, my pistol, my bow and arrows, and then I'm still looking for ammo to kill this guy. I'm like the guy's not invincible. Like, come on. So, you know, just again, back to balancing issues, right? There's just, dude, there's so many unfortunate things going on right now. It should just, it's rough. It just needs a little bit more work. I think they have a solid foundation, but there's still a lot more work that needs to go into this thing before actually setting it out to the wild.
I agree.
Corey, as I said, I had to come to a grinding halt. Unfortunately, I wanted to finish it. I just couldn't finish it just due to some technical bugs going on within the game. And besides the, you know what, the environmental artists, I think, did a fantastic job. Some of the audio and ambience within the game I thought was really well done as well. But the voiceover is just absolutely horrendous. And there's just other issues too with gun mechanics, you know, gameplay itself. It just, there's too many things here going on for me that just weren't working the way a way more polished game would. And unfortunately, puts me at a 2, man.
You know what? I can't argue with any of those points, Drew. This game, I think, has the right idea, and I think that's what drew us to it.
Yeah.
But the execution isn't quite there yet. Not to say that this game can't be smoothed out. They are admitting that it is a work in progress. But, you know, a nice environment, nice environmental audio isn't what's going to keep me even in a 3 to 4 hour experience. And I have to have that gameplay. And, you know, there's so many other games out there that do this, but so much better. It's tough to give this any more than a 3. Great idea for a game, but unfortunately the execution was not there. Weak voice acting and clunky controls will make this short play feel much longer. GTA 5 publisher Take-Two Interactive has just come out with their quarterly financial results, and let me tell you, they've sold over 140 million copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 since launch in 2013, and 2020 was their biggest year other than the original launch year 2013 for people buying the game, which is absolutely insane. That's 7 years after the original launch of the game, you've still got more and more people joining this online community. And as someone that's played a ton of Grand Theft Auto Online, there's so much to do and they don't stop adding to this game. And the fact that, you know, they just keep adding to it is why there's more and more people jumping in. Every month of 2020 saw more and more people joining as each month went on, which is absolutely insane. But the best part is the fact that they're also going to be bringing Grand Theft Auto 5 to the next gen consoles. That means you'd be able to play Grand Theft Auto if you bought it back in 2013 through 3 console generations: Xbox 360, Xbox One, and now Xbox Series X, which is absolutely wild because the fact that you can even think that a game would even be able to last that long is crazy. And they've done such a good job here with the online community. The fact that there's so much to do, there's no reason to get bored here. There's always something else to be doing. The fact that you can jump in with your friends, the green versus purple alien battle was something that Rockstar and Take-Two didn't even come up with. It was the community that generated this. So the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be coming to the next gen consoles is awesome. It makes me a little wary to think when we're going to be getting Grand Theft Auto 6, but honestly, 140 million copies, I think they know what they're doing.
The Last of Us is making its rounds around social media all over again because HBO's production has confirmed that Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey will both be joining the project. This is super exciting because Pedro, of course, comes from The Mandalorian, and Bella is known as a young Mormont in Game of Thrones. We don't know too much about this series so far, but having these characters cast as Joel and Ellie certainly makes this seem like it's going to be another smash hit for HBO.
If you've already picked up a PlayStation 5, you might already be experiencing some problems with the controller, as the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller is apparently having the same drift issues that were reported in Nintendo Switch Joy-Con. In 2019, Nintendo acknowledged the issue with the Joy-Con and announced a new policy that offered owners free repairs and refunds for prior repairs. Last year, Nintendo's president formally apologised for the whole incident as they were aware of the flaw on release, which prompted a US law firm, Chimicals, Schwartz, Kreiner and Donaldson Smith, to file a class action lawsuit against Nintendo for Joy-Con drift. Well, they have now set up a questionnaire page asking PS5 owners to report instances of drift or if the console registers stick inputs even if the controller isn't being touched. At the moment, the options for fixing your busted DualSense is going to be tough, as you can go through the Sony's PlayStation support page, but bearing in mind that the PlayStation support team are swamped at the moment fielding requests for where to find the next PlayStation 5.
Alright, we got big news come from Ubisoft, and this is in regards to Rainbow Six Siege. They've hit over 70 million players. Now this game, it came back out in late 2015. So in 5 years, just a little bit longer than that, to have hit 70 million players, wow, this is incredible. I still play this game quite religiously, and to be honest and to be fair, they update this very regularly. Back in December, they did a huge update on PS5 and the Series X that gave it 120 frames per second and just an overall little slight graphic fidelity increase. But enough talk about Rainbow Six Siege, because yes, that is exciting, but what about this Rainbow Six Quarantine game? Yeah, we haven't heard much about this for a while, and we finally got some news. It is in fact delayed. What a shocker, just like most big games nowadays. But they did say that it is coming out later this year, so I'll predict, I don't know, November, like when it's the Broke-tember, maybe Broke-vember time, I don't know. That's what I'm predicting this game comes out, like all the other big titles. So by the end of the year, will we get Rainbow Six Quarantine? Well, not exactly, because they aren't really sure if they want to use that name nowadays with everything that's going on, you know, COVID and the whole pandemic. I think they're gonna change the name, and they put an article out saying that, yeah, we don't think we're gonna keep the same title. So moving forward, I don't know what it's gonna be called. I don't know what exactly they're gonna do to change it, but at any rate, I'm super excited for this game to come out later this year. Okay, Corey, so we talk a lot about esports on this show and just the overall growth of it, but something that's come up more recently and some insane numbers is the betting side of esports. Now, I actually was pretty unfamiliar with this, but you actually had some really interesting points and kind of a little history lesson to give us, so let's start with that.
You know what? Esports has been one of these things that's kind of developed rapidly over the last 10 years. And betting on esports, just like betting on any sport, is starting to develop just as quickly. And this kind of all started back, you know, the CSGO, the Dota days, and those are still very popular games now. But this is kind of where the betting started. And it started kind of with third-party websites allowing people to trade in-game currency or in-game skins, and they can bet on CS:GO matches, and if they lose, you know, they got to give up the skin that they bet, or they win something and they can keep it in their account, or they can use it in-game as well, which is kind of nice. But that's kind of where everything started. But the problem there is that these third-party websites that allowed people to do this were completely unregulated. So normally, you know, to play the lottery, whether it's here or in the United States, you have to be 18 years of age or older. And well, if you have an unregulated website that isn't asking people for ages, well, then you can get anybody in there betting whatever they want. And unfortunately, gambling is addictive, and it isn't something that, you know, people under the age of 18 should really be exposed to. So for a while there, esports betting kind of operated in this kind of gray area where, you know, like it's a, you know, bet at your own risk kind of situation. But as, you know, the times have kind of changed, and especially over the last year with the pandemic, a lot more people are playing games, they're watching people play games, they're watching competitive gaming. So it's only natural that now we're having more options for actually betting on esport. And now that, you know, we're coming into 2021, there's a handful of legitimate sports books out there that allow you to bet on esports, whether it be CSGO matches, League of Legends matches, Dota's in there as well. So there's a lot of options, and it's just a straight, you know, you pick the winner, you know, you pick this winning team over this team, and there's odds that favor there, and it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily as laid out as, you know, maybe an NFL game would be or an NHL game would be, right? Where you've got point spreads and things like that. Like, there's a bit of a different environment when it comes to esports, right? Like, you kind of need to understand who these players are on these teams and how long they've played these games, these particular ones that they may be in tournaments for. You know, some teams may be together for 5-6 years, but they may have 4 or 5 new players. So these are all things you have to kind of take into account when you get into or start to look at betting on esports. But it is becoming more accessible, and the fact that there's a lot more legitimate sports books out there, because they suffered with not having sports in 2020 to bet on, esports really took a front seat. So you start seeing those esports tabs on all these websites to go in and start betting, and it's starting to really ramp up these numbers, man. Like, we are making a ton of money here.
It's really good for just like gaming in general, man. Like, the fact that it's just more exposure. There's a lot of the world somehow that doesn't really know about esports. When, you know, League of Legends had over 100 million people tune into their world championship, I think last year or the year before.
That's wild.
So, you know, it's just really great for gaming in general to have this, as long as it's regulated. Like you were talking earlier, you know, we had some statistics saying that ages 11 to 16, there was like a growth of 50,000, which was quadruple, you know, for gambling, which is, it's mind-blowing that there's actually numbers for the ages that young. Yeah. So,
and that's
they really, they need to regulate this, because, you know, gambling, or, you know, not that gambling is good, but when it's regulated, it can just really bring a lot of positive energy to esports, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure, I agree. It needs to be regulated, right? Just like our lotteries and everything we have in place now. You know, gambling is a form of entertainment. It's fun. People enjoy it. And if you can, you know, you can control the addiction, I guess there is prevalent with gambling, then you can operate and have a perfectly good time, right? But unfortunately, we have a very large group of younger people watching these esports events, and, you know, after you buy, you know, your favorite team's merch, you're looking for other ways to support them or other ways to feel like you're part of the action. And betting is inevitably going to be one of the next options there. So the fact that, you know, we can do it, it's awesome. I love the fact that there's growth here, because competitive gaming is awesome to watch. We've been to a couple live events, and it's unbelievable. The atmosphere is wild. It's not like watching it on the computer. It's like you're at a real sporting event. It is a real sporting event. I mean, like you said, League of Legends World Championship, you know, there's the Overwatch tournaments. You have a stadium full of people. So it's going to be really interesting to see as we move forward in this whole esports realm, what other games are going to be added into being allowed to be bet on, because there's you know, there's just the rumblings and the startings of fantasy esports right now, which is wild. I mean, you make a fantasy team of esports players, like we do that with fantasy football and fantasy hockey, right? But it's the fact that that's even something that they're starting to develop now is amazing. So honestly, man, moving forward, I know gambling can be that, you know, you're riding that tricky line there, but the fact that it's doing so well with esports and it is starting to take a forefront, people are going to start to realize that esports is just as much a sport as anything else out there.
Your world champion, Potentia!
And let us know what you guys think by heading over to InsideTheGame.ca or over on our Discord. Let us know what you guys think about betting and gambling in esports.
Steve, is it true? We're heading back to Aurora? Steve, it's not a rumor. We're heading back to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Because the latest event is out, the DLC is here. We're talking about Amber Ruin. This is the latest expansion in the world of... I can't believe I'm saying this. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Because, Steve, over the past year, you and I have been about the only ones from the team playing this game because it's still... Honestly, it's kind of more of a broken point than Breakpoint.
That's correct. And I think I'm a sucker for broken games. I mean, I know we're talking about Ghost Recon, but like Cyberpunk I enjoyed, and that was broken as hell. But there's something about this game I just love. I don't know if it's about the open world. I've had a few glitches.
Sure.
But the stories I do enjoy. And like the cutscenes and the, like I say, the vehicles, the mechanics of the guns and things, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about a bit more in later on. But I do like this game, and I'm enjoying this. I do enjoy it, but it's fun, but very frustrating.
Well, that's just the part, right? It's still frustrating because it's still the same game from launch. That's the problem. I think what they've done is they've got a solid foundation, but they've never fixed the cracks within the foundation of the game. So we're still running into countless bugs. Well, so basically, Amber Ruin right now is that when you launch the event, and the whole purpose because why we went back to this event is because of Rainbow Six is attached to the event. And if you know ITG, we're massive fans of Rainbow Six. With this event, you earn skins. The skins you're gaining, as well as guns, but the skins are what really kind of drew me to it. We get Ash, we get Finka, and we get Thatcher. You work with these three individuals from Rainbow Six and Legion as the handler of the entire event, but you work with them to figure out what's going on with this Amber Ruin. Amber Ruin is a gas that's been dispersed across Aurora, and we're there to figure out, with the help of Ash, Finka, and Thatcher, what's going on, why is it there, and how do we get rid of it. But
yes,
Steve, it's still the same old thing. Okay, we start a mission, Steve.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like, it's kind of like the same kind of thing. Go and speak to someone first, and then it starts the mission off. And then you go to like the other side of the map, and then you start the mission. And then it's like, and then you know it's going to be some heavy fortress campsite with fully loaded, and you've got to get in there somehow without being detected. Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm already seeing as like, 2 hours in and mission failed. But like, I find that bit the frustrating part. But do you know what I mean? I do like the game, but oh my god, it's frustrating. And I sink so much hours into this, and it's just like.
It's still the same game from launch. That's what we keep. That's the biggest problem. They haven't fixed the broken mechanics of the game. Where I was in one level and one of the people were actually in a crate, and they're popping in and out of this crate as I'm trying to go and get this mission solved and that kind of stuff. And Ash is there for a purpose. She's supposed to breach the door. You go to the door and hit. So we're on Xbox. I hold Y, and she goes, "Okay, Ash, you're up." All right. So then Ash responds with, "Okay, let me know when you're ready."
Yeah,
I'm ready. So how about you go breach the door? And nothing happens, to the point where both of us, Steve, are throwing a grenade at the door to breach it instead of using Ash. So we have all these abilities with Thatcher, Ash, and Finka, and the only one that's useful is Finka, because if you get shot, she just clicks her button and heals us. It's just, why is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know. And do you know what? And to be honest with you, I know this is the third event, and I've had the same issues on the other two events. It's the same kind of repetitive thing. Yes, the story's different characters, but the principle is still the same. You still go to one checkpoint, talk to someone to start the mission, then go to the other bit, and then you start. And it is the same kind of thing. And like you said, I had the same issue again, like you did with the door. Yep, let me know when you're ready.
Everybody
I kept going back and forth. I think I threw a grenade. I think I unloaded a clip at the door, and then all of a sudden I hit Y, and then she come in and done a thing, and it's like, it was so quick. Yeah, it was too much of a delay, to be honest with you, on that point to progress with the game, because I'm running around and I just didn't know what to do.
It just gets irritating because the thing, it should be presented to you at the beginning of the game how these characters are workable within the mechanics of the game. Why are they there? How do you operate with these characters? And there's just no mention of it at all. There's a story of this gas that's there, and that's a big proponent of this. And you know what? I kind of found it to be a little odd, the fact that we're all in this massive pandemic right now in real world, and we're wearing a mask. And now we go to Aurora and Ghost Recon and we put on another mask. Like, man, like, I think your timing's a little off on this one in particular, but overall, getting back into it, Steve, I kind of got that bug. Like, I got hooked again getting back into this game. Dude, I'm coming up on 100 hours now in this game, and I was just like, really? Again, am I coming back to this thing? And it's still facing the same issues. And that's the problem. I think the story's good. The gunplay has always been solid for me. I love the gun mechanic within the game, but it's just the broken parts behind it prevent me from actually enjoying what I was really hoping would be a fantastic game.
Well, the thing is like yourself, is the reason why we're clocking up so many hours, because I sort of found, unfortunately, I'm still stuck on the third part on this thing, and it's not like from trying. Yeah. It's like when I'm sort of like up at like say 6 or 7 in the morning, next thing is 1 o'clock, and I've not completed the mission because I keep failing the mission. Yeah. And it's like, you know, you spend 2 hours like stealthing and all stuff like that, and then to see one guy see you and they say mission fails, and it's like, oh my god, and then I'll try it again, and that's the bit I find frustrating, and that's the thing that's really pulling me away from this game a little bit, because of that. And I had the same issue, I think, when I've done the Resistance one. Same kind of thing. Get in here, get to the checkpoint in the middle of the camp without being detected. Sure. I think I cleaned all the area up. I think all that was left was 2 of the AI, is it the multi-shell like tank things? Yeah. And that's all that was left. And then the other side of the base, and I went to go to my checkpoint, and I saw a cage, and inside was a hostage. So I let him out, like a good person I am. I'm free, I'm free. He started running around, and he got detected. The next thing, mission failed. Yeah. And that was like 2 hours. And that's the bit that I find the grinding of it. Sure. Is kind of the, puts me off a little bit.
No, absolutely.
So as you mentioned, so obviously like on a Raw we got the nerve gas that's around. Yeah. But unfortunately, you can't sort of get into the area unless you got a gas mask. Yeah, and it's not like a gas mask that lasts forever. No. It has a time limit. It goes down progressively. So you have to find either the gas mask station?
Yeah, it's like a refill station, right?
It's like a refill, but you can also take out like some of the sentinels or the wolves and nick their masks, which I have trouble picking up and taking from them in the first place. It wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, I had that glitch too, where I was only at 2. You have a max of 3 filters you can hold, and as I'm hovering over this other filter, when I'm sitting at 2, I'm expecting to go to 3, nothing's happening. So I was just kind of, man, just more of that broken point that we keep talking about, right?
Yeah, and that's the problem, is because like I take someone out, I'm getting like critical, and next thing I know, I'm trying to peg it to the station to sort of get the gas mask without being detected as well. Yeah. And that is frustrating as well. But it's like, I like the concept of the idea of the gas filter, sort of like changing it, the gas mask. Yep. But again, at the end of the day, it's still the same game. That's really, fair. They just put like a green mist and you have a gas mask, but the concept of the game is exactly the same as all the other missions, I think, personally. Yep. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, it's very true, right? It's still a very rinse and repeat method. To me, I don't mind it. That's the part of the grind and the loop that I like, is to be able to go in there and, you know, I use my handgun for 90% of the mission. So I'm able to get in there and sneak around and pick people off and use that. I got the Sam Fisher ability, right? So I've got the 4th echelon thing going. And that's my play style.
Yeah, sorry, I never finished that Sam Fisher one, so I never managed to get that. I think I was still stuck on that hostage one. That's why. I think that's why I kind of gave up on that one. And it was just like, yeah, too much time. Too much time.
Yeah, but it's still, again, it's more Ghost Recon, which never is really a bad thing. It's still sticking with the formula. If you change it up too much, then fans are really going to kind of harp and gripe about it, right? But they've introduced the gas, and that's the newest event. Overall, yeah, do I like it? I think it's decent. I don't think it's a solid expansion. I think it's okay. So, Steve, why don't we wrap up Ghost Recon Breakpoint Amber Ruin event? For me, a good time. Just not the greatest time. The abilities of Thatcher, Ash, and Finka just aren't plausible. They just don't work. And it's just baffling to me how you launch this event and that stuff doesn't work. Fortunately, dude, I'm gonna give it a 5.5. It's just not working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit different than you. I mean, obviously, I don't play Rainbow Six as much as you do. And yes, I know the characters, but to me, they're just like another AI for me.
Yeah.
Which, bearing in mind also, the first two events, they never had AI, I don't think. So I was grinding by myself. It's only recently they brought out the AIs for help, like the extra teammates. But for me, you know, I'm going to give this a 7. I do like the game. But to be honest with you, with Division 2 and the same kind of thing, a bit more faster pace. So I'm going to stick with the 7.
Nice.
With the new addition of toxic gas, gas masks, and appearance from 3 celebrity guests from Rainbow Six, makes this game fresh and current. But it's still the same, as the bugs and glitches have never been fixed since launch.
Hey guys, this week's Level Up, we're talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is one of my favorite games right now. I'm playing a ton of it. But we're going to kind of talk about specifically the skill tree here, and it's a big one. So it's definitely one of those things I wish I kind of knew a little bit more about before I kind of progressed as far as I did through the game. So I wanted to highlight the top 3 skills in each skill tree in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Let's jump right into it. AC Valhalla's skill tree is massive. It's broken down into 3 sections. Bear, Wolf, and Raven. Bear being melee, Wolf being ranged, and Raven being stealth. And the first one in Bear I want to talk about is Stomp. You're going to get it early on, but it's definitely one of the handiest abilities. You just jump in. Every time you stun an enemy, you have the ability to run up, press in the right stick, and you actually do a stomp maneuver, which usually takes them out completely or does a ton of damage to them and still allows you to get 1 or 2 shots in before they even get up. So Stomp is definitely one of those Bear abilities you want to get early on. Dual Swap is the next skill in the Bear tree. This one's really handy because there's so many weapons in AC Valhalla to choose from that every once in a while you're going to want to switch on the fly, and the ability to press the right trigger and click in the right stick and do that mid-battle is really handy because depending on which weapons you have and which hand they're in, you do get different attacks, so it's always nice to kind of customize the way you're playing these battles out. And finally, the last skill on the Bear tree I really push for is all the way up on that far left side, and it's heavy dual wield. You find so many great two-handed weapons in this game, it's hard not to want to use both of them at the same time. So the fact is, this allows you to use a two-handed weapon in both hands. There is some modifiers to the stats because you are using them single-handedly, but the best part is the fact that you can pair something like a spear and a two-handed axe together, and just the damage is absolutely devastating. The first skill in the Wolf skill tree is Battleground Bolt. I found this one to be the most handy, especially when there's a ton of enemies on screen at the same time. You do a lot of raids and castle sieges in Valhalla, and it definitely makes it really handy to be able just to pick up a downed enemy's weapon and hurl it at another enemy, usually doing a kill shot or definitely doing a ton of damage. This is one of the more handy abilities on the Wolf skill tree. Next up on the Wolf tree is Grit. This ability and skill allows you to regain some of the health from the last hit you've taken if you can jump back into combat after taking that hit and manage to land a few melee attacks. I found this one to be really helpful during those battles of elites or bosses. When you take those big hits, if you can get back in there and get a couple melee shots in, you can recover that big hit, which is definitely helpful because you don't have to use your rations. This is an ability that takes a little bit of time to get to, but if you can get that skill unlocked, it's definitely worth it. Sprint attack is the last skill in the wolf skill tree that I thought to be really handy to use. I use a spear often as a primary weapon, and paired with this skill, it gives me the ability to do a far lunge and attack an enemy from distance with the spear. It allows me to keep my distance, especially in those tricky boss battles. So I found that sprint attack was a really handy, useful skill, and you can get it pretty early on in the wolf skill tree. Over to the Raven side. These focus a little more on stealth attacks, and let me tell you, it's all about the timing in this game, and you're going to want to get this skill early. Brush with Death. This one allows you, with the perfectly timed dodge right before an enemy attack hits you, will actually slow time down and allow you to kind of, whatever direction you dodge in, allows you to maybe get to the side or behind the enemy you're attacking for a couple free shots. Brush with Death is definitely one of the skills you need to be looking for to get early on in this one. The next skill in the Raven tree is Breakfall. I found this one to be really handy because, you know what, I jump off things by accident in this game all the time and take a ton of fall damage for it. So when I discovered Breakfall, this actually does an auto roll for you on any large jumps as soon as you hit the ground, so you don't have to do it yourself or think about it. You're still going to take some damage, but it's definitely reduced. This is just one of those handy skills that you can just always have on you. Last but definitely not least is Chain Assassination. This is an awesome skill to have. After completing successful assassination, you have the ability to press right bumper and actually throw an axe at a close enemy. And let me tell you, this does a ton of damage. If not, it takes them out completely, and it looks super cool. This is a skill you just have to have. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my top 3 skills in each section of the AC Valhalla skill tree. It's huge. There's a ton of customization here. These are the skills that I thought really worked well for my play style. It's always up to you to decide what you want to do with yours, but I think these are definitely ones you should be looking at early on.
Although it's not a new release, I went solo on this one to take a look at Pamela. Today, I'm here to talk about a game on Steam. This one is Pamela. Now, it is kind of underknown and not a super well broadcasted game, but I took a look at this one and I just want to touch on a few things that I think are interesting. And maybe just a few things that I think are slightly disappointing about this game. The game starts you off very humble. You wake up out of a chamber, you're not sure what exactly is going on, but you are free to explore and hopefully craft yourself some items for survival. That's how I'd classify this game, as a survival exploration game, with the emphasis being heavily on survival and exploring this decrepit station and discovering kind of what happened to the people that have lived here and, you know, what's going on in the world surrounding. It's a very dark game with a lot of very mature undertones that is probably going to be lost on the younger gamer. You sort of have to spend a lot of time in this world to really discover what's going on, And the draw is always finding little scraps, whether it's audio logs or computers to read from, to piece together exactly what happened in this station. And the news is grim. As you push through the station, you come across several different kind of biomes or different areas that were useful at one point. There's a lot of residential area, there's the cryogen lab and the just different genetics scientific experiments going on. And there's a lot to explore, a lot of corners, a lot of destruction that has happened in the environment that kind of impedes your progress through the area. You have to find what's going on, but not only that, you have to survive against some of the infected people that are still around in this area. And not only that, but they interact with the robotic caretakers in generally a hostile way. And you are kind of left to either avoid combat and run away, or muscle up and face the threats that you come across. And there's a little bit of a combat scenario, a little bit of some options to go through with terms of crafting and forming yourself armor, weaponry, and useful devices to assist you on your way through the station. There are a few things that I think could have been worked on just a little bit more, and it would have improved the experience quite a lot. There are certain doors that you come across that are locked, and you have to hack your way into the computer system through these mini games that are generally challenging. And there's just a little bit of bugginess associated with that. And it's very unfortunate because there isn't a whole lot of action to be had while you're exploring. And these are some important points, but it's lost a little bit to just the kind of cluttered environment and the difficulty interacting with the different systems. I feel like it wasn't explained very well or explained properly in general how to manipulate some of these computer items and how to unlock doors and areas. There is a lot to do with repairing certain systems that I feel wasn't explained, and that can leave the player kind of hopeless, unsure of what they're doing or where to go, and it causes a lot of backtracking and a lot of exploring the same area kind of over and over again to discover what you've missed. And sometimes that can be rewarding, but I found it personally kind of frustrating in this setting. I very quickly wanted to get out of certain areas and explore more visually stunning areas of the station, and it was just, I was kind of boxed in by these issues. In addition to that, there is a little bit of clipping issue going on with any of the combat. A lot of the motion when you're running through these areas, some of the visuals get a little distorted. And I think that's just an optimization issue because the game otherwise is pretty competent. I've spent a lot of time exploring this game, and it would be easy to get lost explaining some of the details, but I'm going to try and skip over that. In summary, it's a very interesting idea. I think the premise behind this game is strong. It's a beautifully crafted world. When it's light, when it's dark, there's lots of eeriness and mystery to it. The story, I wish, was a little bit more emphasized and maybe a little bit more direction on top, but it is deep, it is interesting to get into, and it was revealed in a pretty nice manner that left me feeling rewarded for exploring the station. Again, I wish the combat was a little bit worked on, maybe a little bit more emphasized in certain parts and backed off in others, but I think that's a stylistic choice for this game. I was pretty satisfied, and visually, this game looks great. So that leaves me with a 7 out of 10. Pamela has a very strong premise and a great environment to explore. Unfortunately, the lack of direction and sloppy combat hold this title back from being a smash hit.
The guys were live this week over on Twitch at twitch.tv/theofficialitg, and well, they're checking out COD. How'd they do? Let's find out.
Hey guys, this week Adam and myself are jumping back into the world of Warzone and we're checking out the new Rebirth Island. This one gets pretty intense, so make sure you watch to the end. Let's check it out.
He's
Guy right there.
Stand up again. Stand up again.
Wrong, probably.
Watch his leg through the wall. I got one bullet left for the sniper.
Tagged him a couple of times.
Enemy RCXD detected.
On the right. Oh, no way. I missed him.
I hit him. I've been hitting him this whole time. Every time he turns around, he tags him.
Loadout drop inbound. Time's up.
Oh, and maybe land with us. Jeez. Oh, he's up. He just jumped off the water tower. He's under it. Oh, they just got a drop right here.
Yeah, there was a couple guys that would grab that dropper.
Right there, you see him?
Yep.
Gas is moving in. New safe zone located. Enemy team is tracking your position. Fire
There's a guy right below us. He's coming into the yard, I think.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Fire seller.
Yeah, this guy below me.
All good.
Friendly UAV overhead. Enemy UAV overhead.
Yeah, they're right below me.
Be advised, friendly precision airstrike inbound. Fire sales done. Prices are back to normal.
How you doing?
Alright, so far. There's guys.
Got gas moving in.
They're in there.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
He's by
He's
you.
right next to me.
Nice.
Loser. Yeah, there's a satchel.
Guy landing over by you. Yeah, I got him. Oh, his boys died.
Oh, on the roof. Jump down here and get a
Taking fire.
something to get this guy off the roof. Oh, Just hit him with it.
Those guys are still in that hut now.
For
I
what?
can't use this.
Enemy lost track of you. You're safe. Gas is closing. Get to the new safe zone.
Target marked. Call for fire.
This is Striker 3-1. Good copy. Strike inbound.
There's guys on the roof of bioweapons.
Where do we gotta go? Ugh.
Drop them down.
Wanna go down and around? Or go that way?
Need high caliber rounds. Need high caliber rounds.
Sorry, bro. Don't have any for you.
He wants us to buy some.
Oh, I've got, where is he at? I got munitions, actually.
Keep it up.
Use bottom. No worries. Okay, coming your way.
Oh, yeah, there's guys in here. Peeking out, yeah, they're on me.
Gas is moving.
They're down. Oh, I ripped him. He's got no armor.
Jump in the front. You're okay.
Still there.
Oh, whoa. No way. There's all three of us are in there and he got me.
Oh man, I could not
He
find
was hiding somewhere. Close one.
No!
Movement! Target
Feeling
right
better
here!
already.
Oh, he's chasing somebody.
Target right here!
Yeah, thanks. That's a dink.
He likes his.
Five left.
There's ammo there.
Give me those.
Nice. Close. Third place. That was close, man.
Crap.
Failures across the sector.
That'll wrap up this week's episode. You can always be a part of the show. All you have to do is go to insidethegame.ca or hit us up on Discord, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. This week, we've got Puma with a sneaky little shot, 1 bullet, 2 targets. Check it out in Rainbow Six Siege. Fam, thank you again for watching. We'll see you inside the game.
Must recover the diffuser. The diffuser has been secured.